Yo, what's going on? What's going on? You live with your boy Denzel Snipes, and this is the Sideline Sports Show. I know I don't exactly look like JB. I may have his goatee for the time period. He isn't available to be with us tonight, so I guess I'm going to be host and producer again, Denzel Snipes, and we've got a pretty loaded show here. Before we get on with the program. Catch us all of our programs on Instagram and Twitter at Sideline Sports One. Also on YouTube and Facebook at Sideline Sports. We're also on DBTV, Believe Network, our website sidelinesportsnet.com. We're also on KRSN Internet Radio and WDJY in Atlanta, GA. And what would also do? Let's bring in one of ours, Mr. John Shear. I see him back there with the Star Wars shirt. I'm trying to make out what's on the shirt. I don't know if it's if it's Vader or is it the new Gen Star Wars.
No, man, it's Luke. It's all Luke. It's Luke and Vader.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, so we have a pretty loaded program. We're actually going to be taking a look at the NBA All-Star weekend and everyone's thoughts about that. I don't know if you got a chance to see any of it or anything like that. I mean, NFL season's over with.
Yeah, unfortunately, Raph's favorite sport.
And now comes actually, you know what? Dave's favorite time of the year is still going on, and that is NHL season. We had the four nations face off also go on. Actually, it's still going on because I think the final game is on Thursday or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what? Speaking of the big dog, here he is right here. Also, Dave DeRocher, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going?
Fantastic.
No.
Hey, you like John's shirt? What about mine?
Hey, no bullying. That shirt is always acceptable. Always. And I know that that actually is going to lead to a bit of a commentary.
That's
later.
a segue. That's a segue, Denzel.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? That actually is well, we have to, of course, actually get through our Sideline Sports quick hits. In which, hey, you know what? We'll go ahead and we'll knock it out right now. And that's our Sideline Sports quick hits, real fast. So let's go ahead and knock out part one, and that is, so should the NFL add an 18th regular season game? John, what do you think?
No way, no how. They're not going to get more money for it, which you would have to give them more money. You'd have to add more to that pot. And I don't think the NFL wants to do that. Also, I mean, these guys are already playing 17 games, and we see what all these games, all the practices, everything does to their longevity of their careers. That you just can't sustain a long career. The more games you play, the more playoff games you play, it all adds up. And you have a shorter career, the more games you play. And I just think that that's unfair to these guys that are trying to have longer careers, because you've got to go a certain number of years to get a certain number of things whenever you're in sports. So I don't like it at all. I think the NFL is just thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about the players at all. And also, like, we don't need an 18th game. I think 16 was okay, and I think 17's all right. I've come around to the idea of it. But I think once you go 18, then you got to have 2 buys, and then the season gets longer. And then it bleeds into almost March by doing that, because it's going to add 2 more weeks onto the season. We already got in 2 years. The Super Bowl is going to be on Valentine's Day. So if you added 2 more weeks, because you would have to add a second bye and another game, that would be to the end of February. And as much as I love football, like, we don't need football to the end of February. Like, we get to this point, we get to the Super Bowl, we're all footballed out. Give us a break, and then once July hits, we're all ready for it back again. So, no, it just doesn't make sense to do an 18th game. There's no benefits to it except the NFL lining their pockets.
Absolutely. And Dave, what do you think? Should the NFL add an 18th regular season game?
No, I don't have anything to add to that, because when you posed the question, that was my first thought too, is why? What would be the purpose of yet one more game other than, one more week of TV revenue, one more week of gambling revenue? It doesn't add any value. 17 games. I mean, if you can't figure out who the best team is after 17 games, I could see the college. I mean, the college. I think when we played, it might have been 10 or 11 games, but we start getting to those playoffs. I mean, that gets to be a long season for those young guys, and the older players. Like I said, there's no value to it. John, 3 years is vested, so the majority of players, crazy enough, don't make it to 3 years. So it is a short career, anyways. I
Yep.
think most all of the records that we see are going to be almost all of them will be unbeatable because players are getting paid so much money they don't have to play as long, and they're going to start making decisions to save their bodies and minds rather than pick up another $20 million. You're making generational money every year, especially the quarterbacks at 50 million a year. There's no reason to play 10 years. Make your money, go to announcing and make another 20 million a year announcing. So it's unnecessary, and I hope they don't do it. And I'm sure it'll be part of the CBA. And I'm actually heading off to Maui in a couple weeks for the NFLPA Leadership Conference.
Damn, no invite.
There'll be no, yeah, you can battle Anne Marie for that. And I'm going to tell you, she doesn't have to do anything; she wins. So the nice thing about the Maui one is there's a crossover because the current players will be there for 4 or 5 days. We'll have a day and a half with them, and then we do our old guy stuff. But I'm sure there'll be topics of what's coming up on the CBA. I've already shared some of them with you, so I'm sure this longer schedule will be discussed as well.
I'm just saying, I make a mean cornhole teammate. So if there's cornhole there and you need a really good cornhole teammate, just think about that.
I'm sure they could sneak you inside of a luggage on the flight, John. It's just
No,
fine.
I can assure you one thing we won't be doing in Maui, and that's playing cornhole.
Oh man, cornhole's the best.
Uh, well, in my opinion, it's an emphatic no. To be honest with you, I think a 17th game was overkill. I think they were just fine with
Yeah.
16 regular season games.
Yep.
They would at least have a leg to stand on if there were like all these controversial finishes, right? Like, oh, we've got like all these teams that are finishing like tied for first place, three-way tie for first place, or like all these different kinds of scenarios and everything. But what we're doing, and we're probably going to start seeing this pretty shortly too, is teams starting to rest their players 2 weeks before the season ends. I wouldn't be surprised
Yeah.
if they started doing that. And also, Dave, to add on to your point, you say 10 years. It may be even shorter than that because kids are coming out with the NIL money now. They're making millions in college, and then they're going pro, making millions of dollars, and they can make up their money just that fast. So it could go from a 10 to a 7-year playing career, and then they get out, especially if they win a couple championships along the way. So we may start to see even shorter careers because they're making the money in college also, and they're signing all these deals and endorsements. And I mean, these guys are signing these endorsement deals and getting this NIL money. They haven't played one snap freshman year yet.
And we've already seen Denzel over the past like 10 or 15 years, guys starting to retire early. Luke Kuechly, that was partially because of concussions, but the Navarro Bowmans, the Patrick Willises, Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders, like guys like that, they're retiring early. I mean, it's 9-10 years at most, and they're like, you know what, I'm good. Or we see players that are in there for 2 or 3 years, and they're like, you know what, I'd rather go and be a doctor and help people, and I already made money, and I'd rather save my mental health, my brain, my body, all that stuff. So we've seen players already start retiring early as is, and really good players, not just like low end players, but like, I mean, when you see Patrick Willis, guys like that retiring because you just don't want to take the hits anymore, the NFL just doesn't listen, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, look at Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis played
Yeah.
8 years, and even then, down the stretch, he battled knee injuries, so we only got 5 to 6 years out of the man.
Yeah.
So, but we'll move on to number 2, and that is the longtime Houston Astro Alex Bregman just signed a $120 million deal with the Boston Red Sox. Will he be a good fit for the Boston Red Sox, John?
I don't see how not. I mean, he's one of the better players, one of the top echelon players in the league. He really developed well in Houston, helped them win some championships, much to their, cheating escapades. But he still was really good, and they only got Altuve left of their big core group that they had that helped them win championships. But of course, it'll be a good fit. I mean, the Red Sox, they got the big green monster. He's a right-handed hitter. It's a tall wall, but he's going to get a lot of doubles and a lot of homers. It's a very short, as far as foot. It's not very far out. So I mean, he's gonna eat offensively there. The hot corner will be a little bit tough because it is tough playing third base down in that corner in Fenway. It is really hard. And the East, I mean, is a dogfight always. It's always loaded top to bottom. But yeah, he'll be fine. With the Red Sox, I don't see any issues there. It's a hitter friendly park. He'll be perfectly happy. I mean, he dealt with it in Houston with their giant wall, so I think it'll be fine.
All right, Dave.
Well, so so there's two sports I don't have a huge opinion on. Hockey, well, actually three: wrestling, but wrestling's not really a sport. And then, and Raphael's on here, so I can say that. And baseball, but here's what I would say, just in general terms. When you are a top echelon player, and you can sign a big contract with a historically good team, or just a team that's held in high regard, like the Red Sox, what's the downside to the player? If you're ending your career there or whatever it is, you're a Boston Red Sox. It's like being a New York Yankee. It's like being an LA Dodger, right? You're not signing with a perennial loser like the Angels with horrible management, and then they suck up all your talent to no avail, right? And you want to be on a team that has a chance to make the playoffs, that's a name that you're proud to have your name associated with when your career ends. So to me, I think for the player, I think it's a great deal, and hopefully he continues his good play, because we always have seen these great players build up great value and then sign big deals and then are injured. So they just sit on their money. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, being an Astro fan myself, it sucks to lose him. Altuve is the last of the 2017 crew. Yes, Bregman was instrumental in helping land that, despite the controversy, which everyone does. But then there was the bounce back of 2022 when the Astros won, and there was no debate about it. He was a member of that squad. He was a part of the squad that went and won the AL West division for years straight, and was always, and John always says, and we'll hear him this season say, they were always in the mix. They at a minimum would finish at the ALCS. Signing to the Red Sox, this reunites him with Coach Alex Cora. And you're looking at a team in the American League East who is looking to make a big move and get back into the thick of things after watching their hated Yankees win the pennant and go to the World Series. Bregman is 30 years old. He's not an injury-ridden guy like that. But you're still getting a more than solid defender. You're still getting a more than solid hitter.
Yep.
So I think it was a great signing by the Boston Red Sox. So Bregman should do just fine. They probably should make a few more moves on that team before they call themselves going toe to toe with the Yankees this season.
I mean, and Orioles, right? I mean, you can't discount the Orioles, and the Blue Jays, they got better too. So, but you can't discount the Orioles either. I mean, they're right there with the Yankees. They're just as good, if not better, than the Yankees. So you can't discount them.
No.
Well, actually, the Yankees lost Juan Soto. So, I mean, they lost Juan Soto. What are we saying? Like, the Orioles should be the cream of the crop in that division. I mean, you lose Juan Soto and you don't replace him with anything. You're the Yankees.
The Yankees might take a step back this year, and the Orioles,
because he made Judge better.
Yeah,
he made Judge even better.
He did. He absolutely did. And then, and with the Baltimore Orioles should take that next step this year, because I always felt that they were a young team making the postseason, but the lights were kind of too bright. But I think this year they have the potential to take a series win. But
hey, off topic, quick hits. We're talking about the Red Sox. John does that. He slides his teams in there to get us talking about them. Quick hits, Red Sox. All right, we discussed it. Moving on.
All right. And so, number three, here's something that we all can enjoy. On a scale of 1 to 10, rank cinnamon rolls as a dessert. Dave?
Okay, so there's two types of cinnamon rolls. There's cinnamon rolls they just put butter on, and then there's cinnamon rolls with icing. Cinnamon rolls with icing are like a 10, but cinnamon rolls with butter are like a 2. And you got to have a lot of cinnamon. One of my favorites. I mean, that Cinnabon, man, you go walking by a Cinnabon and smell that cinnamon, and they got cinnamon twists and cinnamon rolls and cinnamon bites and cinnamon. Ah, man, I love me some cinnamon rolls. So, but icing, as soon as you slap that sugar white crap on it, I'm done. I can't eat it.
Really?
Oh, man. And John?
I got to give it it's like a 3 for me. It's okay, but for me, I mean, I'm allergic to cinnamon, so I can't eat them. So
How
I
did you
have
give it
to
a
put 'em-
3 then?
Well, I mean, because I do take the risk occasionally and just
Wow.
eat one, and I just risk it for the biscuit. So
How
occasionally
do you be allergic to cinnamon?
I believe me, I wish I wasn't, but every
Huh.
time I eat it, like I end up, with a migraine and whatnot. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I got to give it a 3. I mean, I wish I could give it higher because I definitely would if I wasn't allergic, but it kills it for me. I'm not allowed to have it, so I have to treat it as though it's a bad dessert.
Well, I would
It's
too.
not
Yeah.
even top tier dessert anyway. Like chocolate chocolate cake, ice cream cake is better. You know, ice cream
Mm,
overall is better than cinnamon rolls. Like
yeah.
ice cream cake is way better.
Well,
Cake is way
ice cream,
better.
yes. Cake. As soon as you throw the cake into
Have
the
you had ice
equation,
cream cake like a Reese's peanut butter cup ice cream
bro,
cake out of the
bro,
freezer at
bro.
Giant?
I didn't get to be 360 pounds by not eating about every dessert there is. So,
Exactly.
okay, but we're ranking them, and I'm telling you,
Yeah.
the cake is not high on my list.
Really?
I like
Mm.
ice cream and cake together, but if you go ice and cake together, then we're at like a 5 or 4.
Is that because you're a
Ice
food
cream is number
you
one.
eat really healthy? Is that why?
Ice
Or you
cream's
just don't
number
like
one.
the
No, it's just
taste?
not my giddy up, bro.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. I,
Okay.
I love me some ice cream cake. Go on then,
Yeah,
Joe.
ice cream number one. Cinnamon rolls
That's-
number 2. Cinnamon, anything with cinnamon is number 2.
That makes sense because I remember one time we did have an ice cream one for quick hits, and Dave he went off on how much he loves ice cream and
Uh,
stuff. So
all right.
yeah.
Hey Jay, where do you rank them?
You know what? Give me an 8. Probably because so growing up, we actually, and they don't. If you guys have this around y'all's way, y'all are lucky. But Mrs. Baird used to have a cinnamon roll, and it was amazing. And also, of course, there's the occasional you go to the mall and you get the Cinnabon, and they had like this like buttery kind of icing that you could put on top of the icing that was already
That
there.
sounds amazing.
I mean, like Cinnabon is just like this mountain of diabetes in like a container, and you could tell your doctor like, "Hey, I'm sorry, sir, but it was work." Like, have you tasted these things? So like Dave, how many would you get from Cinnabon like at a time?
Well, so Cinnabon came around in my lighter years when I was down to 300. So I try to only eat one.
Yeah.
But I can assure you, back in the day when I would sit down and eat 16 hamburgers in one sitting, that I'd be throwing down. I used to eat a half gallon of ice cream in one sitting,
Sounds amazing.
so I'd be throwing down some Cinnabons.
Oh wow.
Let me
Yeah,
side note, Denzel. Let me throw this at you. Better dessert than cinnamon rolls. The Texas Roadhouse rolls with the cinnamon butter on them.
Yes.
That's when I take a risk on the cinnamon. The cinnamon butter there.
yeah.
I mean, you can't. It's the best thing ever. That with the rolls. I mean, I eat a
Yeah,
million of them.
those rolls are good when they come out warm and you throw
Yeah.
that soft butter on there.
Yeah.
But that's not a dessert. That's an
That,
appetizer.
to me, that's a dessert.
It's an appetizer.
Like I
They bring it out before your meal, John, so it's an appetizer.
Well, I also take like 2 boxes home whenever I leave. For
You take the
Fair.
boxes with you, and then you eat them at whatever time you
Well,
want.
you
to,
know
like
what?
a
Here's my
cinnamon
trick.
dessert.
Let me give the audience a little trick before we, go to sports.
Before we go to sports,
Eat,
like what the
eat.
show's about.
Okay, so you ask for another thing of rolls. You eat all of them, then you start packing the stuff into boxes. So you
Right.
ask for one more set, eat them, then go and get more. Then you get boxes worth. That's how you do it.
All right, no, absolutely. And well, with that said, we do have to move on to our. So before we get to our like headliner, um, I did want to have Dave explain his thoughts on the situation. So as of late, former NFL offensive lineman Rich Incognito, um, or rather, we all received the news that Jonathan Martin, years ago in the Bullygate scandal, which happened
The
on October
Dolphins.
30th of 2013 in the Miami Dolphins, he accused Richie Incognito of some very stout material, and bullying and threatening his family and everything. And so as of late, it had come out that actually it was false and that he apparently made everything up. So Richie Incognito, uh, there were people who felt like he had been, kind of shafted and given the short end of the stick on this one. And so I wanted to swing it to Dave here because, Dave has been inside of the locker rooms and everything. And if you can give your thoughts on what that does to the locker room culture when you have internal beefs like this amongst players.
So, I've listened to a lot of it because I wanted to kind of get caught up to speed. I was
Mhm.
aware of it. And there's a lot of things that go on in the locker room that are not appropriate. There is a lot of language. We all know, at least when I was in college and I was new to other diverse people, and I grew up in just a bedroom white community, right? So I didn't know nothing about capping on each other, and I'm sitting in the locker room, and these guys are just dogging each other, like one on top of another, and they were having fun doing it. And I'm like, man, don't throw me in that mix because I don't know, I didn't get the humor in it. But then as I was around it longer, it became funny. I had an instance one time when I was in Montreal, and you guys know I wore my hair really long.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh, it was a little bit of a nut. Had a couple earrings, even maybe some braids in there. So, but when you're 360 pounds, you kind of do whatever you want. So um, second year in camp, I hear behind me this guy. He's going, "Oh man, that hair looks nice, man. You're looking like a girl or something like that, and man, you're looking fine." And I turned around, I said, "Yeah, why don't you come over here and take a tug on it?" And and so it was like, "Yeah, you're gonna talk to me like that, you
Yeah.
know." And some guys might think it's funny. Now, here's the thing with Richie Incognito, which we all know. He had a history and continued to use language that was inappropriate, was
Yeah.
slandered guys, talked crap about him, used inappropriate terms when talking to other players, and was a bit of a cheap shot. So he was an easy guy not to like. And so when you're a guy that people really don't care for a whole lot anyways, and then you're doing something that might be inappropriate, but doggone it, man, Jonathan Martin, if you have a problem, just be a man. He was a big cat. He was soft, but he was a big
Yeah.
cat.
He was soft mentally. Yeah.
Don't have your mom call the team
Yeah.
and say, "My little boy's getting teased. Can you do something?" Oh my gosh, that's like the
Also, you
worst,
ruin.
bro.
I mean, that also ruins Incognito's life. You know,
Well, he
because
still,
lying about somebody, I mean, that ruins their life. That ruins their
yeah.
reputation. You know what I mean? Because then that affects contracts. That affects a bunch of things for him
Well,
individually
but John,
going forward when you
but
lie
John,
about him.
John, he had been fined on a couple of different teams in different games.
No, I get
But he had been, uh, put on blast for calling guys inappropriate names,
and
using
that's not okay. But
no. So, but
some
if
of
you
the
have a history
stuff,
of it,
yeah,
sometimes you got to look back at yourself a little bit, going,
yeah,
okay,
no, that's
this isn't
true.
funny.
But
This
legally, I mean, if somebody's saying you did these, and it was a lot of serious things that was being said that he did.
right,
I mean, legally, like you can't do that to anybody, no matter what their reputation is. You can't lie about them and say they did this or that like that. All the
Yeah.
things you just can't.
right.
And so I got to feel for Incognito because nobody deserves to be lied about like that. and then their reputation is even worse. And then who knows if he doesn't get contracts because teams are like, wow, he's a red flag, a great player, but red flag because
For
of what
sure.
happened there.
Sure.
So like again, I get the whole reputation thing. I remember Vontez Perfect. And that's why he was out of the league, because he just could not stay clean on the field. He would take cheap shots at guys. And Jay, I'm sure you felt the same way about him. Every time he did something, we were all like texting, "Oh man, there goes Perfect again," blah blah blah. But I
Yeah,
mean,
but
that
see
was that was
that
the
guy wasn't,
reputation he created.
but that guy wasn't hurting somebody's feelings. That guy was putting somebody in a hospital.
Yeah,
Perfect. There is no room for that kind of, even in the day of big hits. I can remember
that was
three of
not.
his hits that
Yeah,
were outside the scope of play, that were just flat out, I'm going to hurt somebody. And I did not like that
he
guy
was
at
the one with
all.
the cheap shot on AB, and that's I think
Yeah.
a general consensus.
Created
We
a
all think
monster.
that
Yeah.
that's when AB got the CTE. That's what I think, at least. That's
Oh,
when he
it
seemed
takes
to
more
have
than one,
changed.
but yeah.
No, but that's when he seemed to have changed, because when he got hit there, he was kind of like dazed and he was like out of it like a cartoon, and he
Yep.
seemed different from there on out. So I remember so many Vontez Perfect hits, but I'm just saying, like reputation wise,
Yeah.
in sports, once you get a reputation like a Draymond Green, like Dennis Rodman, guys like that, once you get that reputation, it's very hard to get rid of that reputation.
Right.
Very hard to clean up. T.O. had it. It was hard for him to get rid of his reputation.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, with and John and Dave, yeah, you're both right on that one, because whenever you do build up that type of reputation, it becomes a situation where if something happens and you're genuinely innocent, it's going to be that much harder to prove you innocent.
Yep.
You look at Richie's case, and this is over 10 years later. Come to find out, Martin was lying about the entire thing. You know, um, and I mean that's pretty bad on Martin. Especially, don't ever call your mom to fight your battles. That's a no no. Okay, that you can't shake. That's hard to
You
come back
can't
from
do
now.
that
No.
now.
Did it? I mean, like knowing like mothers, of course they're gonna like be there because that's
Yeah.
how they feel about their sons, right? But it just looks bad on you. But whenever you develop a bad reputation, and you're actually innocent, it's going to be that much harder to prove you innocent. The opposite
Yeah.
effect, how the little boy that cried wolf, right?
Yep.
So he always had all these false calls, and then the second something was real, no one came to his rescue because he had that reputation of being someone who just cried foul just to make fun of people. And come to find out, the wolf came along and ate him.
Right.
This is what happens whenever
Well,
you build up that type of reputation. I'm sorry, go ahead, Dave.
no, I was just going to say, something else that came to my mind while you were talking, and there's also a thing in the locker room, that if it gets to the point where it's out of line, somebody else in that locker room is going to stand up and say, "Hey, Incognito, you're out of line, man." I can assure you that, because I had to do it. We had a couple of players that were picking on one of our kickers, and it was like, "Hey, shut up, kicker." What's Bjorn Nitmo going to do? 5'9" and a buck 70. So what's he going to do? And so I recognized that he was getting picked on, and he wasn't happy with something, and those guys were wrong. And so I stood up and said, "All right, you two knock it off." And I had to slam them both up against the wall because they weren't going to stop. So there's that dynamic too in the locker room that no one's talking about. It's like, if Incognito was that bad, hey, look, it's still a team, man. And if it was that out of line, somebody assuredly would have stepped up and said, "All right, bro, that's beyond right."
Yeah.
If you can give him a hard time, you can try and kick him in the butt to get him playing a little bit better, or you can call him out on something. But if it were actually into a bullying type situation,
Yeah.
I don't think the other leaders on the team would allow that to happen.
Right. There's the and I get it. It happened in today's NFL. Probably happened a lot during your day, Dave. With the new guy and hazing and everything, just kind of indoctrinating them into the team. They might have them do a little bit of silly stuff and whatnot. We I know we didn't go too far with it, but with new troops back in the military, it's okay to have a little fun with them, right? But as long as nobody got hurt, that's the thing. As long as no one got hurt and no rules were broken morally, nothing illegal, immoral, or unethical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then there's crossing that line. If someone does get hurt, if someone, like I said, Richie been known to kind of say some things that were controversial and whatnot. Like, yeah, there's always that line that you just kind of don't cross, like Dave said, and Dave, someone, and on the kicker, like, again, like he's 170 pounds, like what's he gonna do? So someone gonna have to stand up and say, like, hey man, knock it off, come on, dude, that's the kicker. You know what I mean? So yeah, the biggest things that come out to me from this topic is certain lines that you just don't cross. And at the same time, your reputation absolutely matters, because that determines that whenever, stuff gets real, do you have a little bit of money in the bank to back you up, if that makes any sense? Dave?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I thought you had something else to say. I'm sorry.
Nope.
We got a comment from the dude on Twitter. Richie had his share of problems that was just insane. I don't feel surprised hearing his name in some dark light. Appreciate you tuning in, dude. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and move on to our. Thanks for your insight, Dave, on this topic. We'll go on and move on to our next topic, and that is this past NBA All-Star Weekend. So, Mac McClung three-peated as dunk contest champion. I don't know if anyone watched it or anything like that. It wasn't
they pull him out of his like cave every February so he can do the dunk contest, and then he goes back into his cave.
His cave, exactly.
The guy doesn't play in the NBA. He doesn't do anything.
Yeah, you know what, John?
He can dunk though.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. I was
like, I'll tell you what. I don't know where I've been the last 2 years. I usually will try and catch the highlights of the dunk contest, because it used to be so much fun back when it was fun. But I obviously hadn't seen it because I didn't know who this cat was. And I'm watching, I'm going, wow, man, this is legit. I didn't know that was even possible. I don't know how tall he is, but man, he's up his head's over the rim.
Right.
And I'm like, that was actually fun until I realized, to John's point, the cat doesn't even play.
No.
He's a phenomenal leaper. Look, when Dominique Williams and Michael Jordan, and those cats were squaring off, that was just, man, that was crazy, because those cats were also scoring 30 points a game.
Right.
So
also back then the stars wanted to do the dunk contest.
Yeah.
The reason that stars don't want to do it anymore is because LeBron James year after year turned it down, especially when he was younger. He turned it down because if the face of the league, LeBron James, would have done it, then other guys would be like, well, if LeBron's doing it, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, not that I'm saying it's LeBron's fault, but if, like, Michael Jordan did it, and then other people were like, yeah, I'm going to do it too. Like, Dominique did it. I'm going to do it too. Like, but none of those guys are doing it anymore. We have Max McClung, and no offense to him, he's a great dunker, but fans want to see LeBron James. They want to see the big names dunking the ball. Like, they want to see them showing up at their contests. That's what they want. That's what I want. I don't want to see Max McClung.
The thing is, though, at 10 feet, it's gotten too easy. I think that was LeBron's point, is like, he goes, look, if you guys raise it to 11, I'll do it, because then it's special. Because believe me, now at 10 feet, anybody can dunk that's in the league. It used to be a kind of a special deal. I remember it was a big deal when, I was 6'7", 290 pounds, and I could dunk, and that was like a big deal, so now it just isn't. And who is the guy that was a 6'11" guy that slapped a sticker? No one caught that. He slapped a sticker on the top corner.
But that was awesome.
And dunked.
Yeah.
And if people would have paid more attention to the fact he slapped a sticker
with one hand and is dunking with the other.
And dunking with, and I can't believe they didn't see that. But anyhow, they brought it up, but it wasn't until like way after the scoring. But that's what I remember LeBron coming out going, hey, I'll go up against him next year if they raise it to 11 feet, and they
But
never
I'm
did.
just saying that makes other stars want to participate,
Right.
because
Yeah.
they see LeBron doing it, they see the face, and they're like, well, if he does it, then I'm going to do it too. I'm going to want to do it. But when LeBron says no, everybody's like, well, I mean, if the cool kid's not doing it, I'm not going to do it either. And now
Yeah.
you're reduced to guys that nobody's really ever heard of. No offense again to them. By the way, shout out to the football dude that commented. For me, I have not heard from him in like 3 years or so. John Mizek used to be on our show a long time ago on our other football show. He's a big Broncos fan. So shout out to you for commenting. I really appreciate it. I haven't heard your name in forever, so it's really nice to see that you're doing all right. But yeah, so but these contests, like, there's nothing to All-Star Weekend anymore. Nobody cares about the All-Star game. Nobody cares about the dunk contest. And the 3-point contest is like, I mean, we've seen the 3-point contest. Like, what can you
Yeah.
do to make it special? I mean,
Yeah, I mean they added, like, they added other balls and everything, like the story
yeah,
ball counts for like three and everything. I mean, don't
yeah,
get me wrong, it's still
yeah,
entertaining. I mean, Dame Lillard had the chance to three-peat and he was eliminated in the first round. The dunk contest, I'm almost certain that the Magic organization keep him on on somebody's roster just to defend the
just for
dunk
that.
contest
Yep.
crown and
Well,
everything. No, it
so
wasn't bad per se. If the guys in the first round would have made their dunks on the first or second time, at some point they just kept attempting the same one like 5 times, and even I was like, all right, just get them off the court. They get a zero. Like, get the hell out
Yeah,
of here. It started getting a little bit better, with the second round and everything. But no, hats off to Mac McClung on.
yeah.
I don't know who's gonna outdunk you next year if you even choose to do it. Dave, go ahead, man.
So, the hockey made a pivot on their all-star deal. Football made a pivot. I have to tell you, at first I was going, flag football, who wants to watch that? But I did watch it this year. I mean, that's how bored I was that Sunday. And um, and I'll tell you that the thing I got the biggest kick out of was the punting competition. But that being said, it turned what had turned into a horrible game into at least something that's entertaining. The guys were actually trying; they're actually competing at all of these little games and the tug of war, and
Yeah.
so at least it was competition. Where that All-Star game had turned into a two-hand touch. It was
They
just
don't give a damn. Yeah.
it was not worth ever watching since the 80s when it was still a football game. The
Oh, well,
NBA.
hold on. Not the 80s. That would be mid 2000s because Sean Taylor knocked the punter out.
Oh
Remember
yeah.
that? The punter tried to run and Sean Taylor knocked him out. And then he got up, and all the punter did was got up and slapped him on the helmet and said, "Good hit."
Yeah,
That was
well,
football.
I'm just thinking of the guys that
Yeah.
would hit. But that being said, I'm curious when the NBA is just going to call it and say we've got to figure something out because this is just ridiculous. 200 to 200 and or whatever. I didn't even watch it this year because I've just been so not interested. We all know they can shoot. We all know they can jump. But without defense, it's a boring thing to watch. You're just watching them shoot and jump. And we already know they can do that because they're pros.
And they're not even putting any like hard
No, where's the
effort into
competition?
it. You could
Yeah,
tell
where's
they
the
don't
competition?
care. So, like,
Well,
why should we care?
And they
well,
decide who's going to get the MVP trophy is all predetermined,
Yep.
and they give them layups and they don't go. When Kobe got it, I think I forget who was D'ing them up, but they were making them earn it.
yeah.
They were making them play.
I watched a
And
video the other day. Dave came up on my feed on Facebook, and I never saw it before. But Kobe was in a All-Star game with LeBron. And he said, I'm gonna make you work for this." And LeBron's like, "All right, sure." And they showed the highlight. It was like 5 minutes long, and Kobe just absolutely was on his ass the whole highlight, just up and down the court, following
Yeah.
LeBron everywhere, making him work for it. And LeBron had a look on his face afterwards, like, "Damn." Like, he made me earn every
who
single
is this
shot.
kid?
And
Yeah.
that was impressive. Like, that was more impressive than any three or dunk or whatever.
Well, that's basketball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's basketball. Like,
Yeah.
I was
It
like,
is.
okay, this, I would watch this.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. We mentioned, uh, what changes were made and everything. So there actually was a new format this year, And the format was, and as you can see on the screen, they actually had the TNT crew come up with their own squads, and then the fourth team was actually the winner of the Rising Stars game on Friday night, which that was Candace Parker's team. They went on to, and it was like a one night kind of mini tournament, you know. And in the end, Shaq's OGs defeated Chuck's Global Stars. And what it wasn't this, grandiose game to where it was like a race to 300 points, like Dave alluded to just now, right? No, each game was to 40 points. So it was like a street ball to like 40 points,
Right.
And Warriors guard Steph Curry won MVP. He had a half court. So now at one point, they were doing the kind of game of horse, like, hey, let's follow behind this half court shot that Steph Curry just did. Hey, let's follow behind this 3-pointer he just did. And then they, after that was it, they just kind of, played a little defense and actually were trying to stop each other from getting to 40 points. And so I'll go around the horn here. John, I know you are familiar with what the format was going to be. Are you a fan of this new format?
No, I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. I don't like what they had. I don't like this, and I don't have any solution. So I'm not sure how you fix it. I'm really not. But no, I don't like it at all. I hate it.
Dave, your
Well,
thoughts?
I mean, so based on how you described it, it's just going to be like a pickup game, first to 40. Um, Intriguing. At least there'd be some competition because there's a finality. There's a race to the points. So there's a thing like you got to stop them because you want to get to 40. You want to win. The other one is just like you said, the race to 300. You just loft up shots from everywhere. I think they should limit the number of 3-pointers that a team can take per quarter. They should limit do some things like that. Like you can't just you got to play some basketball. I don't know what that looks like, but in line of the NFL and what they're doing, I can't see the NBA doing that and have it be interesting. A passing competition, a bounce pass competition. I don't know what it is that would be
Maybe,
interesting. Punting, the punting thing, the tug of war. I mean, that's just dudes,
yeah.
and there's some pride to it. But basketball is about shooting and dunking. But we got to figure out how to get some defense in and how to turn it into a competition where they're not going to get hurt, but have it be a competition that's entertaining to watch.
Maybe they could maybe the winning team, like each player, the NBA could donate $20,000 to a player's charity on the winning team. So if there's 10 players, $200,000 total, 20,000 to Curry's charity, 20,000 to this person's charity. Like maybe they could do something like that to kind of incentivize a team to win. Like, hey, I care about this charity. NBA will donate X amount of money if your team wins, blah, blah, blah. Right. I don't know. Just an idea.
Hey, maybe so. I mean, me personally, I will always be a fan of the East versus West format. There should be Eastern Conference All-Stars versus a Western Conference All-Stars. Now, if you want to make it a game to 100, I'm fine with that. Because at least at some point, they're going to start to play some defense, right? Especially if the game's 80 to 79, down the stretch. Okay, now you're going to start seeing some defense because both teams are so close to 100 and obviously they're trying to stop each other from getting there.
Here's an idea. Denzel. Let me throw this because you said that it's actually made my brain work on this.
Uh-oh.
All right. So go back to East versus West, and whichever side wins, they have home court advantage in the finals. That conference has home court advantage
regardless of record.
Regardless of record. That would make everybody interested because now, just like remember MLB years ago, and I liked it where if you're the AL won the All-Star game, they had home field advantage in the World Series. So then that makes the players have to actually try, and then it makes people tune in because they're like, wow, something is on the line. The East, can host the finals against the West, and you know what I mean? That's a big deal.
Yeah. And maybe the NBA could try out something like that because in baseball, if the AL, like you said, won the MLB All-Star game, well, regardless of record, the road to a World Series ring is going to go through whatever team is in the American League, which is intriguing because What if you've got like the number one seeded in the NL, like the I don't know, like the Dodgers or the Nationals or something like that, and then you got like an 80 like an 85 win wild card team in the American League, and then they make the World Series. So now you got this 100 win Dodgers team
Going on the
that
road.
going on the road in the World Series against an 80 something win team. Everybody on this panel knows that that will be a vent outcry about that. But
But
again, it's
everybody would
about
be
making
talking
it
about
better.
your game. Everybody would be talking about your game, right? Isn't that what you want? So
Yeah,
everybody to
that's
be
true.
focusing on your game, watching it, talking about it on social media. Like that's what I think you would want, and that's what you're trying to do. So maybe something like that would fix it. Because I would definitely tune in if I'm like, well, the Heat might get home court advantage in the finals. Like now I got to watch the East, and
Well, hey, they got to do something because nobody's watching it now.
no.
So they're losing millions of dollars on that weekend.
Yep.
Nobody could care less. So they have to do something. I don't know that you put a qualifier on the dunk contest. They have to play so many minutes to be able to participate. So you can't throw scrubs in or keep guys on a roster just to get some notoriety for your team on a weekend. But yeah, they definitely need to do something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know there's going to be some brainstorming here in the off season, but moving on here, we got about 14 minutes left. So March Madness is approaching, but first we got to get past those pesky conference tournament games, right? Sure, a few of our guys, maybe we'll Peralta somebody, go and cover the Big East tournament. Maybe John, John, I don't know if you're planning on going. JB, if he's planning on going or anything like
But
that, but
JB will cover that. I believe the Big East. That's where
the
his
Big East.
beloved St. John's.
Yeah, the
That's a
St.
St.
John
John.
Red Storm. Uh,
Gosh, I'm glad I don't have to hear him, bitch about St. John's not being mentioned in your little thing at the bottom because,
yeah.
he he would be like, "Where's my St. John's at?"
Where's my Red Storm? Yeah, but the men's top 16 have been revealed. Auburn, Alabama, John's Gators, the Houston Cougars, and Duke round out the top five. So, and this will be probably like a way too early, right? Well, not really way too early, but who could end up cutting down the nets at the end of March? John, what do you got, man?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm a Gators guy, so I definitely have to go with the Gators. Anytime my Gators are back in the threshold, it's been a long time
Long
since the
time.
Billy Donovan days, which is a very long time ago. So I got to go with my Gators. At anytime they're there, they're always a tough team when they get into the postseason. Even if they're not one of the best, they're always a very tough out. So I got to go Gators.
All right. Dave, what about you? Is there anybody you're watching in particular in this tournament?
No.
I mean, Duke's going to be hard, Jay.
Yeah.
Duke's going to be hard.
I don't. The Mountain West. Me. I'm a San Diego State guy, and we've had flashes of brilliance, and then I don't know. I think we're like 17-6 or something. So we're on the outside looking in unless we win the Mountain West tournament, which you never know. But aside from that, there's it is kind of nice though to see some new schools other than Duke that are kind of being talked about. I mean, I haven't seen Bama talked about in this for a long time. Florida. When I was at San Diego State, that was our first win. We beat Florida, but they weren't very good back then. Actually, if we beat them, they were horrible. We were 0-8, and we had just lost to Vegas, and we beat them for our first victory. So, I don't care who's playing. We're just talking about lack of competition. Even in season for the NBA, and some of these other teams that look like they're just going through the movements. Man, March Madness is the best sport to watch.
The hottest ticket in town.
It is buzzer beaters. It is kids playing for their lives down to the minute. Playing for their schools still. It really is, man. If you like competition, March Madness is hands down the best entertaining deal. I love just seeing those buzzer beaters, and assuredly, it's like every year. you're going to see them. And those are the
Yeah.
greatest things, man.
Oh yeah, I YouTube March Madness highlights on a yearly basis right around this time period. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I'm pretty sure Dave is riding with his Mountain West. And actually, I brought up an interesting question that I want to ask before we close of this topic, John. I would say out of all of the conference tournaments, out of all of the conferences, which conference tournament do you see the most intriguing and being the most exciting out of all the conference tournaments?
Well, I mean, it would have to be the SEC. I mean, you literally have 3 SEC teams up on the screen right now: Auburn,
Hmm.
Alabama, Florida. So it has to be SEC, because if you have 3 SEC teams in the top 5, then it's them. Like, there's no way around it. That clearly is the best. And yeah, it's got to be SEC. And I don't normally say that about college basketball. Normally, I think like ACC would be, but you have 3 teams in the top 5. Easily got to be SEC.
Yeah, no, oh no, awesome pick on that one. I would say, believe it or not, and me being a Texas Longhorns fan and being in the SEC, but I actually am going to say the Big 12 tournament may be the most intriguing. I mean, in the top 25, you got Arizona, Houston, Texas Tech, and who's the other squad? And Iowa State. And whenever those teams hit the tournament, it's always something. So all 4 of those teams, they have the potential to go like to the Elite 8, kind of almost easily. You know, this is a lot of talent from in the Big 12 from top to bottom. I got the SEC at a close second. To me, I think the Big 12 tournament is going to be. And then you also got those Kansas guys, right? You can't forget about them.
Yeah, never.
Yeah, you know. So, it's crazy because for so long, the Big 12's just kind of been like Kansas and then everyone else, right? And then over the last like 5 years, or so, it became like Houston, and then like Texas Tech got good, and then Iowa State got good. Now you got Arizona, who had been a college basketball powerhouse.
They're always a power. Yeah, they always have a really good team.
Yeah, they're always in a mix. So,
Yep.
My pick is the Big 12 tournament. I'm not mad at the SEC tournament. That very well could be the best one. You know what? I'll just flat out ask them. Dave, are you going to say the Mountain West?
No, I was just looking right now. I ain't seen a lick at Mountain West. Usually we have 2 or 3 in the top 25, and that's my eyes are fading. I don't see anybody. But what I do see, which I was going to ask you guys, I see a lot of 20-win teams, and I thought that
Yes.
used to be like an elite deal. Like it was a big deal to win 20 games in a season. And I'm looking at the top 25, and I'm thinking like at least 16 or 17 of them are 20-win
20-win squads.
teams. With a couple of games left. So I'm like, is that normal? Because it looks like there's a lot of teams that are pretty strong and equal in their records.
It's becoming normal-ish. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you win 20 games, you had a pretty decent season, you figure, right? Now, you take a 30-win team, they're supposed to be cutting the nets down, if not like in the mix. John, is that fair to say?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, wait, give me a 30-win team. Who's won 30 games?
Kentucky's won 30. Didn't Florida win 30, John?
You have to check the numbers on that.
Yeah. I'm seeing like 20 and 5. So I mean 22 and 4. I don't mean that's 4 more games if they win them all, even. So I
win them all, yeah.
30s. I don't think I've ever seen it. And before the Final Four, maybe if you go all the way through the tournament, you got to win what, 4 more or 5 more.
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, you figure if it's 25, if it's 25, now historically the UCLA Bruins went unbeaten and won the title. They went 30-0. The 75, 76 Indiana Hoosiers went 32-0. Hoosiers went 31-1. They lost in the Elite 8. UCLA and
so they're going deep into the tournament.
Yeah, they're going pretty deep into the
tournament.
I'm
talking about season records. Yeah.
Now, regular season records, John, is it fair to say 25 games?
Yeah, 25 games.
Because it's a couple, Not to mention, added to their win-loss record are tournament wins as well. So, but that's considered postseason. So,
right.
Well, we have about 4 minutes left. And we'll just go to our way too early predictions for 2025 for Major League Baseball. John, you want to kick this one off?
Dodgers win the World Series.
And that's it.
I mean, what else is there? Did you see what they did in the offseason, Denzel? Like,
Yeah.
what else are we supposed to say? Because the Dodgers literally have 5 aces in their lineup. And they have Clayton Kershaw. Yeah, he's older now, but like they have 5 number ones in their rotation. What are you supposed to do with that? We already know what they got in their lineup with Otani and all their other guys like Mookie Betts and everybody.
Mookie.
Like, what are you supposed to do with that, Denzel? So, of course, I'm going
Yeah.
to say, Dodgers are going to win the World Series because, I mean, if the Dodgers don't win the World Series, it's the biggest disappointment I would say in sports history. Like, you can't have a more loaded team in the history of sports than what's right here with the Dodgers. Like, they have number ones all the way up and down their roster.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, when have we ever in our lives seen a professional team loaded like the Dodgers are?
the
I just
Yankees.
don't think we've ever seen this.
The Yankees.
Steinbrenner did a pretty good run with the Yankees for
But
a
they
while.
never had 5 number one. They never had 5 aces in their rotation.
Yeah,
Like
but
the
they
Dodgers legitimately have 5 number ones, and I've never seen that in my life on any team ever. Like the Orioles had 4 back in the 60s. The Dodgers have 5.
right.
And they have other pieces too, like
Well,
that
yeah,
they
they've
can.
got offense.
I
They
mean,
have
I don't
offense.
even know how you go up against that on a nightly basis. I just really don't.
Yeah. I mean, on paper, they're looking like probably at least a 105 win squad. Dave, what do you
That
think?
should be. They should break the wins record. They should break
So
116.
so how does baseball work? I mean, can you just go out and buy a team like that? Is there any
There-
cap issues or
There's
There's
no
no
salary
cap.
cap.
There's
There's
no
no
salary.
cap.
Oh, so okay, so if
There's
you're a
like a
billionaire, you just go
luxury.
out and buy every cat, and then you just
Yeah.
have an all-star team.
There's like a luxury tax once you spend so much. But the Dodgers make so much with their TV deals and all that. It really doesn't matter. They can spend whatever they want. And
They
they're
want, yeah.
deferring. They're deferring like billions of dollars worth of the contract. So,
Yeah,
they'll pay for it years and years down the road. But like they're deferring. I mean, they're paying Otani what, $2 million a year
2
on his
million.
2
contract.
million a year. Yeah, he
So,
deferred
like,
everything in this
that's-
contract.
I mean, I almost swore, but that's freaking Shohei Otani, and you're paying him $2 million. Like that's how you know that you can't beat the Dodgers. Like they should win past 116. The record should shatter it. At least
Well, hey, we have to have to
It's
make notes to get odds on total wins and all that from Raphael next
that would
week.
be
Yeah,
really
I agree.
interesting to
Yeah,
hear, the lines and what the odds are when you bet. If you bet the Dodgers, like how much you have to bet to win so much.
yeah.
Mhm. Your real quick, your prediction, Dave?
Well,
Anything?
after hearing John's assessment of the Dodgers, I already liked them, and so it's one of those things. Like I say, I flash back to the Yankees when, and when I was collecting baseball cards, and every Yankee I turned over, I knew because it was like a dude, a dude, a dude, and then they won it all the time. So it's one of those things. I think that's unfortunate. I think that's unfair. That the biggest purse wins. I think that just like with the Yankees, there's a little asterisk next to it. It's like, well, of course they're going to win. Look at the lineup, and
Right.
it's fun. It's fun. I remember back when the Marlins won it, and you couldn't name a single cat on their team.
Nope.
And it had the lowest payroll, and they win the World Series. And I'm like, yeah, pick it, big
I
money.
loved it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But guess what happened? That team disbanded because they all wanted money.
Disbanded right after that. Yeah.
Because they all wanted money. They're like, nope, we ain't paying you because we
They
ain't
did
got
the
it.
same thing in 03. They won it in 03, and then they
And then they
disbanded.
disbanded
Right
because everybody wanted money.
Yep.
Exactly. Like Dontrell Willis kind of had that
Yep.
miraculous season, and then that was it, right?
Yep.
But I would say my early division winners. Of course, I'm going to ride with my Astros, if not because they're playing in the weakest division in baseball. In the AL Central, probably the Twins. AL East, John, I think it's going to be the Orioles division to lose this year.
Thank
Yankees
you.
take a step back in this one. NL West, Dodgers easily. NL Central going for the Cubs. Confidential. The season is going to be starting, everybody. So keep paying attention to Sideline Sports. Confidential. New season will be starting here soon. And then what was I at? The NL East. I'm going to say the Phillies. I'm going to go ahead and take the Phillies to win the division in that one. So, all right, that's going to be our show. Thank everybody for tuning in to the Sideline Sports Show. And be sure to check us out on all our platforms on Believe Network, DBTV, our website, sidelinesports.net, KRSN Internet Radio, WDJY in Atlanta. Davey, you got the final say. What you got?
That's it, man. Hey, y'all have a blessed week. Be good humans.
Sorry, we went over that hour.